Hey everybody, happy Halloween. 2 days later, it's Saturday. And hi, I am your Griot, your Sensei Al Bob. And welcome to our channel, Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. And as always, I want to tell you, don't believe a word I say. These are stories. These are stories to help you suspend your disbelief, I I want to kind of crack the egg of your programming. I want you to, break you loose from all of the things that the hidden hand has poured in your ear as a child. I want you to be able to think for yourself, get yourself out of the box, of this horror show, you know. And, so Halloween is a celebration, or not really a celebration. It was a pagan slash Christian holiday of, talking about the dead because the Romans, you know, history repeats like a bad meal, comes back sour, undigested, unless you can have self reflection. That's what Socrates was always talking about, self reflection. And what Plato said, a self reflected life is a wasted life. If you can't look at what you've been doing, and take it apart and say, well, that's good, that's bad, I should try better here, I'm going to do more of that. You're just going through the motions. Wait, you are the walking dead, you know? And, you don't have to go watch a TV show. The Walking Dead's right here. Just go to Walmart's. Go to the mall. Consume. Many years ago, um, when I should have realized that, hey, I was already sick, but it wasn't. There were times I couldn't really, you know, get and do the corporate thing, right? I just didn't have the energy. And sometimes I just didn't have a gig. I didn't work 24/7. I didn't work 60 hours a week. I had, you know, somewhere between 9 and 15 projects. Hey, Aaron, um, a year. So I would work, 11, 15 weeks a year, and make more than most people, more than a school teacher, right? And and my lawyer accountant was really good at taking everything off the books. So I didn't have to work that hard, you know. And so, but I've always loved and still do love being an electrician, And so I would, in Roanoke, I had worked for a lot of electrical guys. Right now, I can't do that gig anymore because all these companies have been bought out by corporations that are in, you know, Saudi Arabia and China, and um, and everything's done online. So you can't go in and talk to the boss and have a nice little conversation about how to tune a transformer, how to wire a three-way switch, or how to, and then he'll go, okay, you're hired. No, it's got to be straight off of your CV, and my CV is like, huh? So back in those days, there were a lot of guys who they were getting old. They couldn't, make sure they were doing it. And they had some pretty big jobs, wiring things like I wired a Amazon warehouse. And that's a pretty big job. Everything was and that was in the 90s, and everything was robots. I can just imagine what it's like now. So I I was working on this Walmart, and we had wired that Walmart 2 years ago. It was a brand new Walmart. Everything was great, right? But they were replacing all the lighting. Instead of, we had 277 fluorescent fixtures. I mean, they use no electricity, and we were replacing them with LEDs. but not through the whole store, just certain parts. And so and we were, instead of just like taking old fixtures down and putting new ones up, no, we had to run new pipe all the way to the other end of the store, and a lot of that pipe was fiber optic, and a lot of it was like shielded, and it was very strange. Anyway, he needed a guy. He had to have three crews, a day crew, evening crew, and a midnight crew, third shift. So he said, "I'll pay a lot of money, run the third because I don't want these guys to screw it up." I said, "Okay." And the guys that he had for third shift, the new wave was coming in. There was this big company that was in Minnesota someplace, and all these guys came from Minnesota. They weren't, we could have hired guys that I knew. So why don't I just get a crew together? And he goes, no, we got to use these guys from Minnesota. He says, I'm really not doing, any of the work. I'm just the license, and they're paying me a lot of money, and I need you I can trust. I want you to see all the work they've done during the day, make sure they haven't screwed up, and I want you to, run the guys at night. And they're the worst, they're the drunks, the this and that. Okay, sure. So I'm there, and I'm watching. I'm watching. It's cold weather, and it rained. Oh man, and everything's soggy. Like, it was sunny yesterday, and and I woke up, and the moisture from the semi-warm inside my box and the semi-cold condensed on my thing, and was like raining inside the box. So, I mean, in bed, I was like, I have a nice little one of those mylar blankets. I kind of, contact cemented on my ceiling, like thing, so the water would drip down to a bucket. And I'm in bed, and I've got a nice big fluffy comforter and electric blanket on top of me. So when I'm in bed, I'm toasty and I'm dry, but the air still this, yeah. And this is, the travel trailer I have. It's a lot better than my school bus, but still, probably 10 years old. My brother dropped it on me, and so it's got a lot of funk in there. And that's kind of what all of this is. I went to the doctor's yesterday. And he just said, "Well, we can give you a little this, a little that," and I don't have the money to buy any of the medicines until 2 weeks from now. So anybody wants to drop any loose change on my PayPal account, go to the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail, and you can get a hold of me. So, so there I am in Walmart, and I not only have a shopping cart, they got me a golf cart, big battery, I can zip around, and I set up my little work room where all the materials had been stuck, and I made myself a table, or got a table from the Walmart guys, and I laid out the blueprints, and I got everything ready, and I got all the working things of who's going to do what, and I got all of the materials up on shelves, and every day I got it set out for what we're going to do. So I just kind of load up the golf cart with materials and drive around to those guys, and they're all on these things, these accordion lifts, right? And and they can drive around, so they don't ever have to come down. I load them up with all the materials, and they go around in pipe and connectors and hangers, and they're running all that stuff, right? And we're also putting transformers up there. Hey, Hayden, good to see you, buddy. So I am, running the job, right? And I got all these orange little cones, and when these guys are up on their list, they're not looking at people. So I'm like, got the orange cones, so the few folks roaming around Walmart don't get run over. Anyway, so we are we are doing the job, right? And I'm watching everything. I'm making sure it's safe and they're not screwing up and everything's great. I'm reading a book and I'm writing a little of this. What's up? Yes, good to see you eating. And I'm telling a few little horror stories, right? And for because the old crone told me that Halloween was every day, and she said if you weren't ready to die every minute of your life, you weren't living it, and that you had to murder the sock puppet, the mud puppet in you, and replace it with love's co-creation, right? I have a PayPal. Yes, Hayden. Go to my the dude awake 42 at Gmail and put some money in my PayPal. I'll be right back, guys. Ooh, Missy's pies. You can't beat Missy. So, mm, so anybody wants to send me money, that's the dude awake 42 at Gmail, my PayPal account. Put it in there. So, there I am in Walmart late at night, 3 in the morning. And I've ridden over to the section where they're selling these lazy boy recliners with massage. So I had them roll it over to where there was a plug it in, and I could see pretty much it was kind of like a corner, and the aisles were all facing me. I could see everything, like where the boys were and where the people were. We were sitting there, someone like, and the people were, I mean, you want to see aliens go to Walmart 3 in the morning. Like, I go up like this. So, yep, the dude awake 42 at Gmail, PayPal. And people have sent me money, and it works. So, go for it. Anyway, so I'm watching all this, and this guy's working up there, and this lady has like, she's got a walker, and she's like walking. She wants something, and I got all these orange cones around, the lips, and I have I'm watching this lady, and she goes up the lift, and there's something on the other side that she wants. And she kind of reaches through these scissor things. The guy comes down and like cut her in half. And she's like in there, and she kind of loses her balance from her thing, and she's like now kind of stuck in there. She's not just leaning in there, she's stuck in there. And the guy decides to move, and she's stuck in there, and he doesn't come down. But so I look around, and there's, I'm like in the automotive section, there's an air horn, right? One of the little cans. So I take the box, I put it up, and like it rings out. So I scream, everyone stop. So the guy stops, everyone, all my workers stop. I'm getting my little go-kart. And go over there and said, lady, get that back out of there. What are you doing? You nuts? And she's like, unintelligible. So the manager comes, two security guys, or the police, who I've already, I've been working there now 2 weeks. I'm tight with everybody. And they grab a little lady and they pull her out. They take her to the back room, and I go back there, and she's still out there. I better call her name just to make sure this lady's okay. She's like, well, how are they doing? Anyway, that was like, you don't have to, scary things just don't happen. One day Halloween was just made so people could talk about it that one day. Which, man, back in the 3rd century, the first 100 years or so from the Dark Ages, were not very fun. People didn't live past, most women died in childbirth. Most kids died, If you lived past 18, you were an old person. You live in the same place. You never went anyplace else. If the Duke was really mean, they had the right to, rape and eat your children. So, they don't let you have kids so they could rape and eat them. So, there's a that. Life's pretty good. Right? But if you're living in Syria, not so good. Living in Iraq, not so good. Very interesting that the not so good lands are where poor people are. Right? So anyway, there I am working at Walmart. I think the job's going along fine. I'm getting paid pretty good. Everybody's happy. We get a little bored. Good. I don't even have to be. But I want to get that nice envelope with cash in it. My boss, he knows, yes, I organize well. Whether those morons will follow my, instructions about me being there, probably not. Oh, I'm there. I'm working on it. Okay? Yep. Lost the earphones. Mm-hmm. Can you hear me now? Yep, I see the dot. So, the job is going well. So I'm getting a little bored. So, I double down on the blueprints. And why are we actually doing this job? Because it's a 2-year-old Walmart. I helped wire it 2 years ago. Really a great, it's all in great shape. We don't need to replace. If they want to place those high voltage fixtures with diodes, well, just change them. Why are we doing all this other stuff? And then one day I show up and there's this crate in my little, room with all the parts. And it's on a pallet. And the room with all the parts is also the room where all the pipes are coming into. That's going to be the control thing for all those lights. And they stick that box on the pallet right there. Right? And Has a little. It's got a bubble around it. It's got a little book in a plastic bag. So I open it up. I'm looking at it. Oh, and it doesn't say what this box does. It's not Transformers, not this, not that. All it has is at the top of the box, across the whole thing, there are little knockouts that you can knock out and put pipe into, and then still door, you open it up, and there are all these connectors that you're going to take power from this new power source we're putting in and this other transformer that we're putting in. It's going to go in to the top. And then on the other side, there's another bunch of knockouts, little door, and that's where all the pipes are going to go that go out to light fixtures. So I go, well, that's interesting. So take the bubble wrap off, and I know little things up there, doors, are just like this high up. So you need a ladder. So I go, well, it's on a big pallet. And go out in the back, and I get some other pallets. I knock them apart, and I make a nice little platform that's 2 steps up to, so you got a nice big space. You can stand, and the thing is right at this height rather than up at this height. So I'm fooling around with it, and I can't. The whole monolith, the cube, is like a roof. You can't open it. Like the thing in 2001. So I kind of go, and I basically start fooling around, see if I can get into that box, open it up, right? And so I can't move anything. So I go, and being in Walmart is great because I get to drive around. As long as I cut the little list of the stuff that I took off the shelf, that was fine. They had to use suction cups to move glass. And they went to crappy ones, so ones that had pumps. They were really good. So I got a bunch of those, and I stuck them to the side, and I'm trying to, and I got bars to it, and I'm trying to pry the thing off. And I'm kind of doing it to the point where it tips and falls off of it. The whole thing, Magilla that I had made, tips over and smashes on the floor. And all 4 sides pop off. Right? And they're like, right? It's like, and there were no seams, but back concussion and the pipes in there and the suction cups, it just hit it just right where it popped all 4 sides of the cube off. Now all the insides are totally exposed to my prying little eyes. And so I go get a few of my boys, and we try to lift the thing back up. But the 4 walls are down on, I just picking through this. I'm talking to friends who still think it's Halloween. So I start, looking at this thing, and it's like not hooked to anything, and yet there is a field around it, right? In the scalar tube, it's blue. There's some current in there, right? There's something in there, and so so I'm fooling around with it, and I'm making diagrams of it, and and all of a sudden these guys walk in with suits, right? And said, "What are you doing?" I said, "What do you mean? What am I doing?" I'm the head electrician here. I'm running this job. I'm looking at this. We have to put this device in series to the new lights hanging. We know. We're from the head office at Walmart. We're from research. And like it's only been 3 hours since I popped this thing open, but it had an alarm. That's wireless. Send it back to the home office, and these guys show up. And I look at them and I said, "So what? Why are we putting diode lights to a scalar generator?" The guy goes, "You know what that is?" And then I go, "Yeah, this is this, and this is this, and that does this." And the guy goes, "Whoa, who are you?" And I said, "I work for such and such company. I'm the head electrician here." "How do you know about, you know?" And the guy says, "How do you know about Tesla technology?" Because at this time, nobody, you know, Elon Musk didn't have Tesla yet. I said, "Well, you know, I'm a real electrician." That's what I said. I'm a real electrician. So I was going through this with them, and they went from being like, "What'd you do to our box?" to "Whoa." And one guy goes, "So you looking for a job?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Well, you know more about that than I do, and I'm an engineer working on it. We could use a guy like you." And I said, "So you work for Walmart?" And he said, "No, we work for research." I said, "Oh, you mean like DARPA?" And that's when they became somewhat quiet, and they reiterated, "No, research." I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, give me your phone number. I'll think about it." Anyway, next day, my boss comes and goes, "What did you freaking do?" Because those guys had other guys who took, you know, put the forklift under that thing and took it out of there that evening, right? And the my boss said, "Listen, they told me to give you this envelope and to take you off the job, and pretty much everything's done." They said they would, take care of the rest. So, envelope was a non-disclosure thing in another envelope, and another envelope in there with a bunch of cash, saying, "Keep the cash, sign the non-disclosure thing, and come work for us. Keep the cash, sign the non-disclosure thing, and you don't have to, if you don't want to work, don't worry about it. We realize you're retired." Right? So if I had been like maybe 10 years younger, I would have, because of my predilection to want to know what's going on, but I knew what was going on. That box was using the diodes in those light fixtures to mesmerize, control, just like this screen does. This little screen here, you know, it's not a cathode ray tube. These are little diodes in here, and they're like linking out into the audience, controlling us. And every time I do a show, before I do it, I go into state and I put into this little camera right up here, right? This little camera right up there. I energize it with shamanic energy. So as you guys don't get mesmerized, that you guys can open your mind, so you can die every time you come and watch this show. Ah, so, um, this scary stuff is all around us. Right? So I'll tell you another good little scary story. So my grandma brought me up, right? And when I was 7, by that time, my dad had pretty much totally gotten out of the Air Force and gotten his career path. So he was a salesman, like Willie Loman, but successful. He's right back. Very nice banana.
different high school. Actually, I picked him out when I was 2.
I want that one.
And he was 5.
Well, that's good. That's the way it should be. Back in the day, that's how it was. Okay. Okay. Hi there, gang. This is your Sensei Al Bob, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. So, come on, more thumbs up. And, anybody who wants to donate some money to my PayPal, go to the dudeawake42@gmail. Folks, you should be reading my stuff, my Griot Publishing, GRIOTTE. Go to xratted.blogspot.com and look at all the stuff. I'm working on 4 new novels, and the one that I'm finished writing, but I'm now wordsmithing, is moral majority, family values, bad girl, hot pants, Black Widow Spider. And I have a third of that semi-edited up there already, right? It's about, it'll be somewhere between almost 400 and almost 500 pages long once I get it done. And I'm doing pretty good. So go check all that stuff out, expand your mind, like Socrates said, you need to use the Socratic motif. He could question anything, right? The Greeks, were already ready to go into space. And then the Roman Empire came. The Greeks were all about their soul. The Romans were all about their pocketbook, right? And we are stuck somewhere in between. We were not born, we're not put on this earth to be grocers, to be businessmen. We're put on this earth in this bag of water. This is our little training device, for our soul to ascend ourselves, You like my pajama pants? Yes. They sell those at certain times a year at Walmart's. When they first show up on the shelf, they're like, 12, 19 bucks. But by the time summer or spring shows up, they're like 3. So I buy 10 pairs. Not so much these days, but I got a lot of these, a lot of different ones. So, and it's still in the Halloween. I wear these, I have, a military super duper North Pole kind of outfit, which I probably will start wearing if it gets colder. But come on, one of you must want to take a road trip, have a car that can stand up, and we go down south. I have loads of friends down south. Go to Georgia, go to Florida, go to Louisiana, go to Texas, Nevada, New Mexico. By the time we'd hit New Mexico, it'd be warming up a little bit. Like near, and into California, up the coast, Washington, Oregon, cross to the top, go to Chicago. A lot of friends in Chicago. It would be a mammoth thing. We'd, do YouTube shows, be making, we'll put together a blog, and we would put up a website for the Humanities Artists Trust International, where we would be the traveling video art circus, and we would go visit colleges, and they would pay us from their student activities fund $5,000 for 3 days, and we would leave the freely inquiring society. Right? We change the world. We'd be that little pebble in the thing. So any one of you want to be part of that? Wouldn't that be a little more fun than your little job at Walmart's? Huh? And if you're like me on Social Security, 2 Social Security checks would be more than enough. I got some nice camping gear, and as long as we're down in the warmer lands, you know, camping is fun. I mean, I spent the whole freaking spring, summer, and fall here in the deep green, and it's been great. You know, it was 74 on Halloween evening, and then we had this tornado come through here, and now we got uh, cold. So come on, let's have some fun. We are a month, hopefully. Oh, good. We get cold there first. Yeah, it already is. It was like 20 something last night, but it's just weirder than weird because I have this nice little travel trailer and I have some electric heaters, and it was warm. But the condensation between the outside cold, 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 and that had rained really hard for 3 or 4 days before this, and the warmishness of the inside, it was raining inside the travel trailer, you know. And luckily, I had stuck, those kind of mylar safety blankets, right? I had, used spray adhesive and stuck them up on my ceiling and tilted them enough to make the heat go towards me. But what it did was the rain fell from the ceiling of my travel trailer onto the mylar and I put a bucket, and it worked great, right? But the environment in there is icky, moist, not quite moldy, but enough to do that to me. I mean, I was fine all summer long, but as soon as this happened, that's where I got this. I went to the doctor's yesterday, and she said, "Oh, you're fine. You're just icked." That's how she put it. You're icked. So she gave me some decongestants and stuff to de-ick me. I don't have enough cash to buy them as of yet. But you guys send me some money. My PayPal, the dude awake42 at Gmail. So, I was born, I died, you know, my umbilical cord was wrapped around my neck, and the doctor's trying to pull me out with salad tongues. And this young female, the only doctor in the whole female doctor in the whole friggin' hospital in 1950 was Dr. Teresa. And she, was just supposed to be observant. But her specialty was infant stress. So here these guys tried to pull my head off. So I was pretty stressed out. And it was going to rip, my mom's uterus out, and she'd bled to death, right? So she pushed them out of the way, puts her hands in my mom's uterus, pushes me back in, turns me around, unwraps that, and pulls me out, right? She had these nice, beautiful hands that did that. And I went from to, oh, look, I can breathe, right? And she got in a lot of trouble, but my mom had been an administrator of a really big hospital. So she had a lot of medical connects. And Dr. Teresa became, her name was Teresa Black. So Dr. Black. And she, so for the next 10 years, I was really sick kid. So Dr. Black kind of took care of me. But my parents weren't really, they had 6 kids. So, and before me, 2 of them died, right? So my grandma took me, right? And her best friend, or one of her best friend's daughters, Mamo, had a little baby girl. And so Mamo had these gigantic mamos and fed me. So, Bethany was on one side and me was on the other. And I grew up with this little baby. We were both like, Romulus and Remus. And we were best of friends until she got shot in the head. Little kid. I mean, she wasn't a little kid when she got shot in the head, but it was in the 70s. And she got involved with something she shouldn't have gotten involved with. But anyway, that was way before this. And so I grew up with my grandma and my salad bowl community. And because, folks in multicultural neighborhoods like Harlem, it's not a melting pot. That was just an advertising term because they wanted everyone, the Germans, Italians, the Greeks, to kind of be white, almost white, and that would be Velveeta cheese, right? But no, up there, along Second Avenue, every 3 blocks was a different nationality, and so we were like a salad bowl, all of us on top of each other, making a more flavorful something, right? So, um, I spent, 7 years with my mom. We would walk from uptown all the way down Fifth Avenue, go to all the museums. She had this little box of these corporate buttons that she put on. We go have lunch at the corporate uh, executive dining rooms. General Electric, GM, uh, C rooms, all these big. And we did it enough where they, this is how you're doing. And she had the button, so legally she could walk through, but everyone knew because she had her own little Tupperware suitcase, and she would like take whole roast beefs and feed the neighborhood. So we so I grew up with my grandma, and I learned how to read. I learned a lot of things. My brain was like spun up, right? I was having the kind of education that Alexander had being taught by Socrates, and because my that whole community was a community of integrity. All the black folk who were lawyers, doctors, Indian chiefs, well, they couldn't go to the suburbs; they had to live there. But they were well educated. Like my grandma's in the brownstone she lived in, the neighbors, were all college grads. And this one guy was a PhD, and he had been J.P. Morgan's librarian. Morgan loved books. He never read them, but he collected them. And this guy collected them and took care of them for him. So that's the kind of environment I grew up. And then at 7, I was brought back. My dad had, got a job. They got a nice big house, and they brought me back. And I got a room with my brother. And he was 7 years older than me. And so there I was 7. There he was 14. So and it was in a really nice neighborhood in Long Island, in a place called Freeport, which in Long Island there's 2 cities. There's Glen Cove, and that's on the North Shore. On the South Shore is Freeport. Freeport was where all of the quote unquote um, pirates were, because it was a sheltered port, right? And they would go in, and they would have these lighthouses on boats, and they would move them right where the rocks were, light it up. The boats would come, smash into rocks. They'd kill everyone, take all the stuff. That was Freeport, Long Island. And out of it grew the robber barons. All the rich people who were, in New York had, in the 1790s and the up to the you know, depression of 1929, had their big estates because there were these beautiful. It made Southampton look like nothing. This was Freeport, and now Freeport's where the rich people live again. And it was also when I was a kid, it was a place where all the people who like Guy Lombardo and the musicians, the guys who were the theater people, all had their big houses there. And along the river, on one side of the river was where all the fishermen kind of lived, and on the other, all the marinas for the rich people's big yachts, right? And there was the yacht clubs, right? My dad belonged to one of the yacht clubs because he grew up in that town. My grandparents had a house in New York and one there because my grandfather, who was a barber surgeon, that was his gig. I mean, all the people he serviced were really rich, and those were the 2 places. He had a place in the big hotel. Uh, I forget the name. Waldorf Astoria. He had a place in Waldorf Astoria, and he had a big barbershop in Long Island, which was the first. Both were the first unisex because girls in the 20s came in and wanted those bobs was men's, boys' haircuts. So he did it, right? And then he got a girl, who was doing men's fingernails, started doing women's fingernails. So anyway, so at 7, I went back to my family, and my family is like a feral pack of wolves. So there I am, this little peanut who's been, his whole life has been, comforted by unconditional love of love's co-creation of all these people who saw something really interesting in me and tried to nurture it rather than, step on him. My father, for my whole freaking life, until the day he died, was like, "Who are you? You don't belong here. You're not one of us." Right? Even when I was the only one of his children who took care of him, and he still said that. And that's I read enough Freud to know that. And I was lucky that for those first 7 years, those formative years where all your neuroses and psychoses get set, I was surrounded by unconditional love. So when I went back at 7 and saw all this chaos, and my dad's, comes from, Italy, so he's got that Italian temper and this wacko triple Virgo mind, and being, PTSD, because he spent all of his Air Force career basically working for General LeMay. So he organized the incineration of German cities like Dresden, where they bombed, they used the first time they used white phosphorus incendiary bombs, and they killed close to 200,000 women, children, and guys. And it was a toy city. Had nothing to do. The Air Force didn't bomb it. The Air Force didn't bomb a number of cultural centers. And there were a number of cities that they didn't touch at all because they wanted to try new technologies out on them, right? So my dad was in that. And then they went to Japan with a B-29 and incinerated, Japanese cities. And then, he was a guy organizing a strategic air command, getting ready to incinerate the world with nuclear weapons. So my dad had some serious PTSD because he was a good guy down deep. He had done killing millions of people and potentially killing billions, right? So that's the house I went into. And my mom, Irish, German, Dutch, right? This real, like, she was like one of those people who always carried a razor blade ready to slice your throat, right? And she was a triple Capricorn. My mom, triple Capricorn. My dad, triple Virgo. And then the rest of my brothers and sisters, like, who have been like soaked in this kind of, cortisol, adrenaline, psychoness. And there I was, not used to, I was used to unconditional love and really smart people and people trying to teach me Latin and the Greek myths, when I was 6, and 5 and 4. And, and having no stress whatsoever and having no, Harlem when I was here was a blessed place. And, Mr. Morgenthau and the guy who built all the highways. What was his name? It'll pop into my mind. But he built Jones Beach and he built the Port Authority and all those bridges. And he basically developed the whole concept of urban renewal, everything in American government, just like Orwell, newspeak. So urban renewal means destroying the urban community. No child left behind, leaving every child left behind, Guns and butter, meaning all you're doing is slapping butter on the guns and handing them to people. So war on drugs, meaning the drugs were coming into this. We had no drugs in Harlem in the 50s. Yeah, the musicians smoked a little boo, but that's about it. So I went from this amazingly beautiful place, which was said to be a ghetto, to this place in the suburbs that was supposed to be for like rich people that was like hell on earth, right? I was a little, but I was taught to, use my Socratic mind and say, what the frack is going on here? And my brother had some real issues with my parents. And they called him Weeping Willie until he was like left the home. And then he became Kick-Ass Willie. And so he and I, still to this day, are pretty tight because we shared that bedroom together for about 5 years. So anyway, and he would tell me I was the one person he could vent to, and I would just go, So, and he was, I would do stupid things as a little kid, break his models, and he never like beat me up or get upset. He would just show me the beauty of models, right? Humping glue. So, where I got the same, feeling years later when I was a long distance swimmer and I was reading the Bhagavad Gita. My swimming coach gave me that book and said, just read each passage, read it over and over and over and over again until it's a song in your memory. And as you're swimming, sing that song in your mind. So that's how the first time I ever went into state was in a swimming pool. And, you know, practice was over. Everybody got out in the showers. I was still going back and forth and back and forth. Coach got, they went up to school. Where's Al? He came down. I was still in the pool, going back and forth. Back. He jumped in the pool and grabbed me. Okay, relax, breathe. So, so you were in, I forgot what they call it, Sumatra. Basically, I was in state. He goes, so you were there, weren't you? You were singing that song over and over again in your head, and I said, yep. So anyway, back to um, my grandma drops me off at my parents' house. I'm there for a week or two. I start wetting the bed. You never wet the bed at my grandma's house. Never. Right? And so my mom's goes, we have to send Al up to a shrink. And my grandma goes, no. All you got to do is I'll take him back. She had a house in Long Island too, in Freeport. And so it was like 6 blocks away. And so at 7, when I was 5 and 6 and 7, I walked the streets of New York, not a problem. And and so um, I went back to my grandma's, and we started talking. And my grandma, like I said, my grandma was not about style and taste. She wore the same clothes all forever. But she was about culture. She was about going to art museums and looking at paintings. She was about going to the opera, about going to theaters. And she had we would go to New York, to the opera in New York, and to you know, listen to big. Go. Lincoln Center wasn't quite built yet, but we would go to the big houses. And what it is you get a ticket stub at the movies, right? That person leaves the movie house and says, "Hey, buddy, can I have the ticket stub?" You can go back in the movie. That ticket stub, right? So there were people who would go to the opera who were rich and would just want to show off their fancy stuff, and then they go up to the place and have dinner. Well, they didn't stay for the whole 4 hours of the opera, so we would wait at the door. We would go in. The first act would happen, and that was like, you know, the first act was, and it wasn't even an act. The the first thing before the first act, and and they would have these because everybody they had a bar. They made a lot of money at their bar, and so they had a lot of spaces because they had these big sets, and they didn't have So it took them a while to move it in and move it out. So between each one of those, and there'd be like maybe 5 or 6 of those. So lights would come on in the house. People go get a drink, come back, right? And everyone would show up their pretty clothes and move on, right? Ah, so they I went back to my grandma's, and so we would go to the opera. My grandma was a movie fan like you couldn't believe. That's why I'm such a movie guy, right? And so we would go in Freeport. They had a big RKO that had like 2,000 seat thing before the multi cinemas, gigantic, and the big curtains and the really beautiful. It was like, you know, those movie theaters were like the Sistine Chapel of their time, and they had organs. Like if you went there on Saturdays, they had organs, you know, for the matinees. That would be all day. And my grandma and I would go to matinee. It would be all these kids, and my grandma and me. And so I, so I, we went to this movie, and we saw this movie called Forbidden Planet, right? And it was like the Star Wars of its time. I mean, it really had cutting edge everything, right? And they did it in 70 millimeter and Panavision. What did you guys have for lunch?
We had the special,
Which was?
the
Can't remember what you had.
Melton Delight Sub. This is what it looks like. It's loaded. I couldn't eat the whole stuff.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, every time I eat here, I only eat half and then take the rest for dinner.
No, this is one of my.
Was that pork or ham? What's the meat?
It's
Ham?
ham, turkey,
Oh,
and then it has and bacon.
oh,
It's loaded.
it's loaded. So we go see this movie, right? And it is basically a takeoff of a Greek myth that Shakespeare then made a play out of, and then this guy's made Forbidden Planet. And basically, what it is so Earthlings come to this planet. You know, they get to go faster than not. The first flying saucer that everyone sees for the next 15 years in sci-fi movies, they made for this. And they're talking about dimensional travel. So they understood this then, you know. And that's how they could go the big distance relatively shortly. You know, if you're on this side of the universe and you're on that side of the universe, instead of going all the way this way, what you do is fold it. So it's right next door. So anyway, these guys show up, but they're chuckleheads. And when they're coming from one dimension to the other, they don't do it right. So instead of coming into that solar system that they were going to check out, like really quiet, like tiptoes, they come in and they cause a solar eclipse. You know, they cause the moon to zip in front of the sun of this big planet. So, and they're going to look for a group of scientists that had landed there 20 years ago. And so, you know, they come out of state. The captain looks at you, moron. You look what you did. You know, fix this. So they like readjust things, and they get into an orbit around the planet. And they get a, call. Hey, spaceship. Who are you guys? And they said, oh well, we're from Earth, and we've come to check. We haven't heard from you in like almost 30 years, and we were sent to check you out. And now we have faster than light space travel, and and the guy goes, well, don't land. It's dangerous here. Don't come here. I'm fine. Get out of here. And they said, well, you saw our entrance. We burnt out our klystron whoop-de-doo. So we're stuck here until we fix it. Can you help us? And the guy goes, okay, land at these coordinates and I'll have somebody meet you. And so they do. And Robbie the robot is meeting them. And again, the movie is 70 millimeters. I mean, normal movies we watch at the movie theater for 35. This thing is like the whole place, and the colors are like rich and deep and whoa, right? So, Robbie the robot picks him up, and they're like, AI isn't thought of. And so, they can't believe that this robot's, drives up in a car and drives them back to Morbius, and it's a desolate planet, but where they kind of pull into this mountain range, and this car is going up, supersonic speed, and and it's hovering along. It's not on wheels. It's like zipping along the top, and so they pull up to this place that's like Florida, palm trees and nice little waterfalls and really George Jetson kind of house. And there's Morbius, um, what's his name? That's a well-known kind of English American actor. Um, Real tall, very distinguished. He's got his little black beard, and he's Morbius. And so he, talks to them, says, "Okay, you can fix your thing. This is my robot, artificial intelligence. He's smarter than all of you put together. He'll fix it for you, right? Then you got to go." And so, and they want to know what he's been doing and what the place is. And he goes, "You guys are pinheads. You wouldn't understand my research." Then, remember Honey West with the little mole here, the blonde girl? Well, she shows up in this and these guys have been in a rocket ship for the last 6 months without seeing the chick. And see you later, kids. Have a wonderful day. And and she is hot, hot, hot. And these three guys are like, it's the captain, the doctor, and the second in command, who's kind of a, playboy. And so they, basically get the 411, and Honey takes. She's never seen a guy other than her dad. It's just her dad, and Robbie. And she can speak 20 different languages. She knows astrophysics, but she's doesn't know, square one about, her hormones, And she's playing somebody who's somewhere between 18 and 22. Anyway, so the Playboy somehow, has her showing him the neighborhood while the doctor and the captain are talking to Morbius about, Morbius starts to, okay, this planet was made of the Krell. They go, what do you mean? I have an IQ of 160. I could understand. And Morbius just kind of, so he takes them into their lab and he shows them little trinkets that this race called the Krell had, right? And so he shows him this device, and he sits down at it, and he puts the little gizmos on Morbius's brain, and his IQ goes halfway, right top, and this is for like 6-year-olds. This thing, right, with the mind, it's a teaching tool, right? And so. Um, he so his goes in mid range, right? And he goes, and if I was a Krell, I'd be a mongoloid, right, in their stuff, and then the doctor, who's really smart, tries it out, Morbius, doctor, you want to try it out? And he barely gets it to nudge. Mobius goes halfway. He gets it like him. He goes, I don't understand. My IQ is 160. I should. And he goes, well, it's not fair. This device enhances intelligence. You just hit that switch and it kind of upgrades, right? And when we were first checking things out, the captain tried it and fried his brain. And I was researching it, and when I tried it, and it left me on the floor for a week. But when I came back, my intelligence was, instead of being like this, it was up here. So, and that's what enabled me to do my research on the Krell, right? All these years, right? So he tells the story of the Krell and what a great race they were. And then they were doing this great endeavor. And then they their endeavor was successful. And then that night, something wiped the whole race out, right? So, I again, this is a Greek myth, tragedy, and a Shakespeare. I forget the Shakespeare tale. Anyone who knows what and Enkidu was that guy, and in the Greek and myth tale, really smart guy. The king is like jealous and also scared of the really smart guy, and so he isolates him on an island. He doesn't kill him because he knows he might need his intelligence, so he just puts him on a nice place with a lot of TV dinners and more. That guy gets a little you know bored, so he takes the animals of the island and turns them, and that's where the island of Dr. Moreau came. Are we not men, right? So see, the Greeks knew all of this stuff. Genetic engineering, you name it, they knew it. You look at Hippocrates' little symbol. It's the wings of Hermes, of the god of life, and then the spear. And then there are these two snakes going, and that's the double helix. He knew about it, back in the Greek times, back around 400 BC, So I'll quicken the story because what I'm talking about is scary things and my, grandma and, me peeing the bed. So we watch the movie and so as it goes on, this monster comes out because, these guys are like infecting his daughter and the robot and, once the guy goes off the farm, you can't get him out of Paris. So, and the girl, the guy, the wolf guy, the third in command, while the boys were like being tutored on about the Krell, he makes out with Honey West and then plays doctor. They take their clothes off, they go swimming, he's feeling her up. What are you doing that for? And, she has no idea what the heck he's doing. And because he has these moves that every woman can't, not respond to. And she's like, you're a funny moron, aren't you? You're like a monkey. And so they get dressed, they go back, and she's like just telling her father, like a scientist about. So you got salads there. I think I will have a lump of.
Hang on one
Yeah,
second.
you do your thing. I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm.
let me go get the tablet.
Yeah. You clean up, do whatever you got to do. I'm all okay. Right. And I'm getting another meal that I'll eat a bit and then take home because it's too cold to cook. Anyway, so he says, okay, you guys, captain, doctor, you guys are responsible. You're mature. You can come visit me, but the rest of you guys got to stay on the perimeter around your ship because this is a scary place. There are monsters here. There's things that'll get you, right? Okay, so I'm gonna have a salad, and I'm gonna have egg salad, tuna salad.
I don't have tuna.
What do you got?
I have egg. I have pimento. I have chicken. Egg, pimento, and chicken salad.
Okay, I'm gonna have egg, chicken, and mac and cheese.
Macaroni salad or mac and cheese?
Mac and cheese. You can do that.
Do you have any macaroni? Now, do you want that? Would you want that mac and cheese on the side? Technically, it's 3.
Right.
The salad plate, it's 3.
Okay, can you just make that one of the 3?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
You want that? You don't want that hot on,
No.
on the lettuce, though, right?
No,
Put it on the side.
Yeah.
Got it.
But it's one of the 3. Okay. See, I knew we could do it. Team effort. Yep. So and the monster, the more Morbius is like, the monster shows up. First, he kind of kills a few guys, but it, they got a fence around the flying saucer, and it just kind of goes through the disintegrating ray and comes in. And then, it attacks the ship, right? And it's pretty obvious those guys got to get out of town. So by this time, the captain and Honey West have become smitten, right? And so Machine is really, the monster is really going, he isn't going to let these guys even get off the planet because What it is, the monster is from because Morbius let his brain be twitched by the Krill machine. What the big project they were doing was making a machine that would create anything they thought of, whatever meal, whatever job. So all they had to do is like be artists and creative. They wouldn't have to do any physical work. But they long past that, right? So and we think we are too. If you make enough money, you don't have to work too hard, right? So the monster is just like our money, right? And it comes that lack, that thing that's missing here, that essence of integrity that's missing here, um, is the monster from the id. And that's what we are suffering right now. So I go see this movie with my grandma. My grandma has us watch the movie like right, like the first row. So I'm like having to look straight up at this gigantic screen. Anyway, our little tradition, we go see a movie or we go to the opera and then we go to Schrapp's and have a Sunday. She loved her banana split. So, and I still love a banana split myself. So we go to Schrapp's and my neck is hurting me, right? And I'm going, ugh. And she goes, so what do you think of that movie? I said, Grandma, why did we had that, we had the whole theater, thousands of seats. Why did we sit up in the front? He goes, well, when you saw the monster, what did you see? And I said, well, I saw that because we talked about movies and how movies are made and da da da. Because Long Island, where she was before Hollywood. That's where they made movies. So she knew about movies because she had friends of hers who worked in that business, right? And my grandfather used to be the barber and makeup guy for them, right? When Edison had his movie thing in Long Island, and then the other guys had theirs. So um, I said, well, it was pretty obvious. They made the movie in 70 millimeters so they could draw on each frame. They animate because we watched Mickey Mouse cartoons. We went to the the Saturday cinema and watched all the movies, the kid shows. Anyway, so I said, they just animated the monster. I said, if we sat in the back, it would look really real. But I could. And she goes, that's why I had to sit up here because that's what your life is like. You're watching a 70 millimeter movie screen, right? And when you were with me in Harlem, it was this bucolic, beautiful thing, right? But now you're living with your parents and they're nuts. And that's the monster from the id. So we went back and watched the movie and we sat in the back row. And it's like you could really, oh my God, it's a monster. So she said to me, there is no such thing as a monster. It's all in your head. So from now on, whenever you are instead of letting your biology, your adrenaline go off, then the cortisol zips in and you go psychotic. No, always see the danger 3 blocks away. So you can get out of the way. Always see the danger 3 blocks away. So if you have to get involved, doctor, do no harm. Only get involved to save the innocent and get out, and only get involved to learn something. You will see the monster as that scratched on animation on the 70 millimeter thing. And all I got to do is run between the monster's legs, visualize it wearing sneakers, tie the sneakers together on the shoelaces, and the monster will fall over. And that's how come I can kind of walk into any situation and be okay, right? And that's why people like Canary in the Coal Mine is like can't even get in his car to drive downtown to go to the supermarket. Because the supermarket is full of monsters from the id, right? And as he stays up there longer and longer by himself, those monsters are going to be coming up the hill after him. Right? So, and when I would show up, the last time I was there in July, he couldn't. 4 hours was all he could stand before the monster from the id got to him. Right? So, so there's a guy named Cordell West, a black man, you know, a theologian, I would almost class him as. And you should go on YouTube and watch some of his speeches because he talks about what's the most important is our you know connection with love's co-creation, the integrity of our soul, right? Uh, okay, there's Alan, Hayden. Okay, I'll go take a look at the $10. I think it is. The PayPal thing has shown up, so I'll take a look at that. And anybody else who wants to send me some money, I know everyone has their economic budget, so whatever you can send, I know it works because a number of you have sent me cash before, and it went straight in my bank once I hit accept. And after we close this little thing, relatively sooner or later, I will go check out my PayPal account. So that's go to the dude awake 42 at Gmail and go to my PayPal account, right? And Hayden, it was easy, right? You could do it, right? So, yes, that's my dad having the death of millions on his consciousness. Now, I met all these guys. General, Whack Job used to come have dinner with us. My mom was she was a party girl and would have these cocktail parties that all the rich and famous, powerful people would come. And not just, Air Force generals like General LeMay, actually, um, you know, um, lots of Nazis showed up. um, the guy who was, what's his name? Werner von Braun. He showed up a couple times, and so did his boss, who was the president of Bell Aerospace, and so was I forgot the guy's name, but he was head of intelligence in the Russian front. So the reason why we had the Cold War was that he made a deal with Wild Bill. He said, "Listen, you guys are going to have to go up against the Russians one day, and I have a whole intelligence operatives in their government, right? So don't hang me, even though I killed millions of people, and I'll give you the 411." And that's why we had a nonstop Cold War. Russia was never a threat, just like Russia isn't a threat now. Texas the state of Texas has a larger gross domestic product than Russia does. The only thing Russia has is oil. And Texas has way more oil than Russia and a zillion other things it sells. So, and Russia has to import virtually everything else it has. So, all Russia can really do is make mischief. And, Putin works for the hidden hand, always did. The GSB always was the hidden hand, just like the CIA was always a hidden hand, just like MI6 and MI5, always a hidden hand. And that's the monster, you know. It's not even the Illuminati, you know. The Illuminati is another poster boy. So, so, so that's the monster. So go watch Corn West, Cardon. Starts with a C. West, black guy, teaches at Harvard. He's very eloquent, very poetic, and knows history like back. He's that's why I'm not, a professor at Harvard. Could be. Come on, Harvard, invite me in. I'll start. I'll do things to Harvard that need to be done. And when West goes and talks to college town, that's what he says. I heard there's a great radio show that you guys should go check out. It's called Alternative Radio. And here, where I am, ETSU puts it on the air on Thursdays, right? So if you went to ETSU's program list, Alternative Radio, very good, right? And another one is New Dimensions, another good one. They have a lot of good shows. And if you like really good old timey music, classical, country, classical, everything that genre, blues, old timey music, from Friday night, 6 p.m. till Sunday at midnight. That's all it is. Irish music, you name it. Scottish, Celtic music, everything you can imagine. Excuse me. Stay right there. Come on, guys. More thumbs up. Come on. Need more subscribers. Come on. Get some people to sign up there. All we got is like 351. Go back and watch the show. Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, my grandma was a great lady. And, she looked like your basic Italian grandma, about 5'2", the size of a refrigerator, always wore black, and had these crazy hats. Why do you think they wear these things? She always wore black, but she always had crazy hats, hats with little reflectors on them, really, she got me into wearing hats. And she was a great lady. Everyone, grandma was top of the list, top shelf. Like the last year, she made it to be 100, and she had a lot of things wrong with her, but she made it to be 100. She goes, I want to live to be 100, right? And when she died in 72, I think, and when the guys walked on the moon, I was in her living room, right, and we were watching Neil Armstrong, 5 in the morning, jump off the land onto the moon. One, small step for man, giant leap for mankind. Anyway, she looks at me and she goes, Albert, remember this day. You're 16 years old, right? No, 69. No, I was 18 years old. No, 19 years old. Somewhere in there. Anyway, so she said, when I was your age, I was living in a village in Italy on a mountain. The only technology we had was the wheel and candles. We didn't have windows. We didn't have doors. We slept in mud huts, thatch roofs with the animals. And there was a padrone, the head guy who owned us. We were his serfs, his peons. And that's why I kind of ran away and went to first Venice, then Rome, then got on that boat, met your grandpa, and the story's out. But when I was your age, this is what I was. So here I am, many years later, sitting in my living room, with the air conditioner in the window, and I'm watching on a box in my living room a guy walk on the moon. And she goes, in a very few years, you will see even bigger changes than that. Because you won't have to wait to be 100, right? So here I am, pushing 70, and I've seen bigger changes, right? And bigger ones are coming, right? And it's scary, and they're gonna, it's gonna be a red flag. You thought 9/11 was scary? Ooh, baby. Thought World War II was scary? Ooh, baby. This, we were manufactured by a, non-terrestrial entity. All of the Egyptian and Greek gods, they came from other places. Of course, they came, they come from the sky, and they have all this great technology. Of course, you think they're gods, especially if you were just manufactured by them from, squirrels, to do their, heavy lifting and hunting and gold mining, just like we have those little kids, anybody who has themselves an iPhone, you know, I want you to know that the cobalt in that was dug up by kids under the age of 6 because again, they die of those heavy metals very rapidly. So they start them out young and they die before the time they're 10. And of course, in Africa, any place where there are, Nigeria, any Botswana, any of those places that have oil or any of these rare earth elements or gold, South Africa, that's where you'll see some real violence, real violence, right? So these are the monsters that you need to be scared of, right? Not something in the movies. So I would say, I keep saying a window of opportunity, 14 months. Sometime after that, which is going to be a little bit after um, Donald, the election, right? The only person who could really win against Donald Trump is Tazi Gabbard. She's the only one who's speaking from her heart. Now, the guy who is the Asian American who wants to give everyone $1,000, he kind of is, but still he's too rich, but he wants to do the right thing, right? And the Texas cowboy mayor who is congressman, him too, but he's already drank the Kool-Aid, right? And the gay mayor. Now, if Tazi, comes out, it's just like me. All you guys love me, but the average population hasn't seen me, right? Never be able to. I can't believe he's been on a year and he only has, 351, cadre. Well, there are people who only have 2, you know. So I'm doing pretty good because my story is true blue, just like this is my mom's. She loved, was my mom's favorite color. And this was also my mom's. I found them. And this long sleeve turtleneck hoodie keeps me warm in my soggy little fun trailer. So, um, there she is. Thank you, dear.
You're welcome.
Yep. Some tools. Well, there's a fork.
Got enough?
Could I have some mayonnaise?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just some mayonnaise. I love this another thing. And Grandma. Egg salad sandwiches, chicken salad sandwiches. She lived on it. Anyway, so Grandma gets to be 100 years old. Right? And thank you, dear. I'm in D.C. You know, going against the war. And I call her up. I used to call her up at least every once a week, if not more. And we would talk and tell her what I was doing, where I lived, all the rest, right? And so I called her on her 100th birthday, wish her a happy birthday. And sent her some roses. She loved flowers. And she said, "Oh, I got your flowers. Thank you, baby." I said, "Love you, Grandma." And I said, "So, I hear they're gonna have a big friggin' birthday party for us. Should I try and come? I said, forget about it. I said, okay. She goes, but I'll see you soon. I'm okay. So, so she, has a party. They do it at my dad's fancy yacht club where they have, the place for weddings. And everyone shows up, and grandma's at the head table with this big chair, and so everyone's having a great time. And meal's kind of over. They're about to roll in the big cake, and my dad says, "Oh, grandma, get there and say something to the crowd." So she gets up, and she goes, I really don't like any of you. A few of you are okay, but most of you useless. And then she pulls out of her handbag, I bought myself a Greyhound pass for a year to be able to go anywhere I want to go. And I'm going to go see some old friends that have moved out and are living someplace else. And I'm going to go see things like the Grand Canyon, Las Vegas, Washington, D.C., things I haven't seen. And then I'm going to come home and die. Oh, wait a minute. No, you'll live in the hundreds. I hope not. So, how you doing today, sir? Yep, me too. So, I called my brother and I said, so how was the birthday party? He goes, oh, man, Grandma, she dropped the mic. And he tells me, what's your dad? Huh? I said, well, that's Grandma. So, so she, a couple weeks go by, and I'm living I'm actually in Maryland, kind of near College Park, right? And my University of Maryland. And we used to, a highway goes right through that school. We block 2 lanes off Copper Common, go tear gas at it. And we'd go up the hill and block that one. And the cops would have to get traffic going, and the tear gas, didn't bother us, but it bothered everyone in that school. It would like smoke everyone out in that neighborhood. Anyway,
Right, got it.
we lived in the ghetto, about 20 blocks from that college. We were all kind of poor people. And it was in the 70s, early 70s, and basically, it was a little dangerous, and kind of what Detroit is today. What used to be a big shipyard wasn't there anymore. There's no real employment. There's no poor people. Drugs were coming in because that was the only business people could do. So we rented a house, pretty big house, about 4 bedrooms, a couple of bathrooms, living room, dining room, kitchen, big backyard, and big backyard. It was mostly full of garbage. Yeah, plus I didn't pick up garbage from our neighborhood, so we would burn it back there. So it's like a super fund site. Anyway, so And for some reason, this was a nice house. And as the neighborhood was deteriorating, and this place was semi vacant for a good long while, all of the moldings and doors were mahogany and oak. And somebody came in. I mean, they had been painted over a zillion times, so you didn't know that. But somebody did and ripped all that stuff out. No molding, no raggedy plaster, and no doors. You know, so that's why we were living there because it was basically free. I mean, the city didn't own it; somebody owned it. Like we were paying like $100 a month for that, and there's about 12 of us there, right? And one of us, Daddy had a credit card, so we got electricity and gas turned on. So anyway, we were there, and I'm in bed, middle of the afternoon, with and we were like the Harvard experiment. We were like a family. So whenever our little hormones would perk up and you'd like look at somebody like that, you'd go off and exercise your hormones. So this girl wasn't per se my girlfriend, because none of us had a girlfriend and boyfriend. We were all kind of a family. Right? So I'm in bed. We've exercised our hormones, and the rooms have no doors. Oh, they have like pieces of plastic or beaded things. Anyway, one of my fellow tribal members said, "Yeah, wow, there's an old lady at the front door looking for you." Right away, and it was Grandma. I had no clothes there, so I said, "Sweetie, can I go on your dress?" And she said, "Fine." So I threw this kind of one piece, you know, farmer girl dress over me, barefoot. Well, there's Grandma. She's there with a black kid, and he's got like 3 bags of groceries. And she goes, "This is a nice young man. He's carrying my groceries. I brought them to cook for you guys." And the girls are all there, and you know, everyone's in semblance of almost dress or kind of dress or dress. And it's springish, not quite summer, probably May. Not really hot yet, but not cold. So she goes, "Where's the kitchen?" And the girls come and pick up the bags from the black kids, and my grandma hands me $5 and she pay the kid. So I do, and I kind of had seen that kid around. I said, "Here." I said, "Buddy, listen, I'll give him more. I just want you to." He goes, "I really like that old lady." I said, "Good. I want you and your friends to keep an eye on her. So nothing happens to her. Right? You know what I mean?" He goes, oh yeah, we'll do that." And so he comes in, and all the girls are cleaning up the kitchen, right? Cleaning it all up. Right? And me and the other guys, we start cleaning out, the backyard. We kind of start pushing all the garbage to the corner and trying to clean the whole place up. And so next day, the girls were wearing nice dresses, and we're wearing pants, shirt, and a lot of the guys have ties on. Now, my grandmother didn't say anything about, she didn't make any kind of disparaging remarks about our hair too long or any of that kind of stuff that we would get nonstop from anybody else walking around. And she just enjoyed the company. And she was cooking with the girls and baking, and the girls were singing. Like, it was really great. And we were not going to the rallies. We went once, Grandma. So I'm gonna see what you guys are doing. So we did. And she goes, when I first moved to America, um, they treated Italians like black people. You know? We couldn't go to stores. We couldn't ride on buses. We had to give our seat to a white person on the trolley. And she said, nothing changes. We have we had Spanish American War, World War One, World War Two, Korean War. Now it's Vietnam War. And she was way ahead of Northern countries. She goes, America's only business is war. So we're like, hmm. And we didn't go deep into it. We kind of took the bus down, got off, walked top of the hill, and watched the clouds of tear gas. And she goes, you told me about this like a couple of months ago, Al. They're doing the same thing. You know, what are their demands? What do they want changed? And really there were none. Because it's like a useless football game. Your father played football, and at least he got to go to college, and then became Air Force guy. Because I don't see any real value in what you guys are doing. But you have to build. If you want to have change, you got to do it from community. So look at your neighborhood. We're going to have to go back there and change that neighborhood. So she's been there a week or so. And we made her we found one door, put it there. That was her room. We really, got nice carpet, nice bed, cleaned it, scrubbed the place, painted it. That was Grandma's room. And so she said, you know what? Kitchen's really small. It's really nice. Let's start a garden. So, start a garden. And there was, because this is a nice house, there was just off on one side, a very nice slate patio with a really great barbecue thing, right? So she said to me, there must be a junkyard around here or a metal place someplace. You can get a metal grate to put over this and get a big piece of steel that's flat. That'll be like a griddle. So go see what you can do. So we did. We picked up all the wood. We made a big pile of wood, and we started cooking outside. And she started smoking everything, fish. And she met these guys who still delivered food by a horse's wagon, right? And she talked them into after they make all their things, they still got stuff left over, bring it over, and she's going to feed the community. And so their thing is, I live around here. Sounds great. So in less than 2 weeks, 4 block radius has now become a community. Everyone is working on the garden. Everyone's having meals there. And in the other block, they're replicating that. So Grandma was there for a little less than a month, and she changed everything. And when she left, I stopped doing, the stupid Marchy thing. And that's when I went back to New York, saw my parents, went down and saw my draft board, and got to work, First, I had a like Vista in the south, working with kids, and then they moved me to Fort Hamilton. And my grandma, she went down to the south. We went over to Texas, California, up, across. And if we take a road trip, it's going to be the grandma retrospective. And so that's she came home the night she came home. My dad, picked her up at the bus station, brought her home, and he went the next morning to see how she was doing. She was dead, just like she said she was going to. And when I lived with her, so I knew my grandfather. I mean, like as an infant, really not like I knew my mother's family or my grandma. And I said, "Grandma, do you ever think about Grandpa?" And she goes, "He's always with me. He's here with us now. He's right over there, sitting in his chair." And she goes, "So my grandpa, even though he was a barber, he loved new things and radios and so when he died, she moved all his stuff into a room of her house. And when I got old enough, like 2 or 3, to tear things apart and play with them, they were there waiting for me. And I still have some of his tools, but sadly say they're in boxes over at the school with the canary. And you saw what the canary did with things that were from my mother's parents. That was a letter from my grandfather to my mother, and a picture of them. You know? But when he did that, got me hurt, really hurt that he would do that. I would never do that, like to him. Then it kind of got me upset. Now, upsetness could have kind of got me into anger, but not really. And then what I had to do is realize that it was actually an opportunity to let that stuff go. Because that's not what's important. What's important is you guys. Right? What's important is that you, in the next 14 months, get to be that pebble in the pond. So, mm, mm, well, bottom line is not so much war on people who do drugs, but war on the corporations that sell the drugs. Like I said, I lived in Harlem in the 50s. There were no drugs. And all the drugs that are being sold, basically being sold by the hidden hand. Not war to have, it's a war. Yep, government itself. It's not even a government. It's the hidden hand. The hidden hand is a transnational, multidimensional time entity. And it's not just drugs like meth and heroin and oxycontin, etc. It's more like, the sugar made by high fructose syrups. People who are in here, well, I'm a pretty thin guy. I'm 240 pounds. I'm looking over at 2 tables. Everyone there is over 300 pounds. And we're eating at the same place. What am I having? A salad. What are they having? What am I having to drink? Hot water. They're drinking Mountain Dew, French fries, onion rings, double cheeseburger with bacon. So, and they have that all the time. Me, I have hot water, salad. Hey, G.
Hey, bud.
So, we got 14 months here. And 14 months is like election time. So if Donnie's running against Biden, Donnie's going to win. Which in reality, Donnie has done nothing. Meaning, look at the media. I told this story about 5 years ago. I was looking for a church, being their action coordinator. And I was spinning things that I was being too active. It was all white, rich. They were all dying, so they wanted to get more people in there, families in there. A lot of families I got to go, and there were people of color, Hispanic, Black, folks of LGBT. I mean, in about 3 months, they had a population of white people owned their church, wanted to board their church. When I got there were only 20 people in that church. Within 3 months, we had 300 people, and we had music every weekend. Like salsa bands playing on the in the sanctuary. And I started a restaurant called the No Fear Restaurant, where homeless people and judges and police could eat together on common ground. And I had a thing called Action Tuesday, where people would come in. If you had an idea and you wanted to do something active for the community, and I would cook them a dinner. I would make a big pot of soup because I had a great kitchen and a great restaurant, a big room that could seat maybe 200 people. I was right in the middle of town, right next to the TV station, right next to the newspaper, right next to the federal, state, and city buildings. It was really making a difference. And after 4 months, they got rid of me. So I was changing the complexion of the church. About a year later, I went back, and my buddy got me in there to be the action coordinator because he wanted to show real vitality. And he's as dead as a doornail too. He's a walking dead. But he's really handsome, and he's a good poster boy for a minister. And he doesn't do anything except cash his check. So anyway, I went to visit him a year later. Nothing was going on, right? The restaurant was gone. All the action was gone. It was just back to the same 20 old people. Yeah. So, so one of the Action Tuesdays, the guy from the Workers' Day, blah, 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 said, hey, I heard these girls from Yugoslavia who want to speak to the city. They got nowhere to speak. Can we do it in your Action Tuesday? I said, oh, yeah, sure. So the girl showed up.
Wow, honey,
And I lived in a Polish, Yugoslavian, Ukrainian neighborhoods in New York. And so, I knew how to cook that food. So I made a big pot of borscht. I made blintzes. I went to the Indian restaurant and got some really nice little cakes because they're almost, many layer cakes. That fella with nuts and honey in them. And I got really good tea. And it showed up cold and sweetie. So,
Hey.
is this your better half, G?
This one?
Right.
Oh, she's my better half, all right.
Right.
Bam!
Yes, I'm Jane.
Yeah,
How you
that's
doing?
Jade.
Hey, James.
Hi.
I like your art.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm getting
He's
ready
one
to have more and do more. I'm
The,
Nonprofit.
no way.
a writer.
Grant
Yeah.
writer, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I would love some help with that. I work at that
He
state,
said if you
and
got
there was a
time, there's all
workshop.
kinds of paperwork to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. There's a workshop. Should I take it? An app that talks. Okay, I'll do that and just see.
All it is, so I was an artist in New York, right?
Say that again.
I was an artist in New York. I was one of the people who started Soho and Tribeca
Oh my God.
back in the 60s, right?
Yeah.
And I worked for people like Klaus Oldenburg and,
Oh my gosh.
Dali and all those guys. Anyway, and I lived in lofts, and New York was a great place because there's always someplace really cheap to live.
Right.
Not now. That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Well, there was a ton of grant money for artists, but just for like the ballet and the opera, rich people art.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So we started a thing called Collaborative Artist Projects. That got money,
Mhm.
and we gave it to the artists individually.
Yeah.
And we went and got buildings that we did shows in. And that's what started Soho, because we kept doing these art shows, and the guys up on 56th Street and 52nd Street came down and said, well, it's a lot cheaper rent down here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Wow, that's awesome.
none of us knew how to do that. We just started doing it.
Just figured it out. Yeah.
And that is the whole thing about
See, he just gave me that front room. I've been begging.
the ice cream room.
Yes. And I just noticed I hadn't really thought about it because I wasn't getting my hopes up, but the view is so beautiful.
Yeah, so you're going to make that your studio?
Yeah.
Great.
And like, see, have people. I'm gonna have because I do jewelry.
They walk by and they watch you doing it,
Yeah.
right? That would
And
be
then-
great.
Yeah. Plus,
Good for
then I
business.
can do lessons for one or two people
Right.
instead of trying
Right.
to find the time he's not.
I
busy.
get this is like my office here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can sit in there with me. From
Okay.
now on. I'll get you a little stool. And
So
that.
let's do your palm. The hand you're right with. Put it up like that. Well, you never do anything the same way twice.
You're kind of right about that.
You're really
Mhm.
you're really sweet, but you really don't like the human race.
That's true.
You are honest, but not too honest. I mean, you don't spill the beans. You got a lot of common sense,
Mhm.
a lot of deja vu.
Golly.
What else can I tell you? What are you, a Aries, Pisces?
Pisces, yeah.
Because you're very empathetic.
Say that again.
You're very empathetic.
Yeah.
And that's what your art is. Your art is, you're like plugged in.
You know what this is? See, Reality Ink said this is somebody asked for them to print him the perfect woman. And see, it's a printer and the ink color and
Right,
but
right.
everything is screwed up. The square, everything is square now. And
Right.
so the flowers are square, but and that's real. Wow. But yeah, so that's what that is a printer printing a perfect person.
Right.
And look, this is passwords, pin, username,
I like that.
Thank you. I haven't since we bought the store. I have not painted. I've started making bracelets just because it's something to do.
Right.
But with that, I can't wait.
Right.
I can't wait.
So when did you where'd you come from? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Orlando, Florida.
Oh, you're a Florida girl. I said, yeah, these are very Florida colors.
Are they?
I used to live in Stewart.
Okay. Yeah, we used to ride dirt bikes and dune buggies. there.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really the only place left. Jensen Beach is the only place left in all of Florida that you can go on the beach on the East Coast. The rest is all condos.
Oh my God.
When I was a kid in the 50s,
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was
US
all,
one,
yeah, Cocoa. Oh,
A1A,
yeah.
it was like, yeah, it's sad.
Wow.
But
Yeah,
Florida,
I've not been. I don't miss it. I mean, I moved to
well,
Mooresville outside
well,
of Charlotte in
it's
'88.
it's no longer Florida.
Yeah, I know.
It's a toxic corporate crap hole,
Yeah.
and everyone who's there is have been toxed by it. There. And I used to have a nice little bungalow down in the Keys near Grassy Pine Key,
Yeah.
and that last hurricane,
Uh,
and I had sold it just before then.
really? Well, that was good.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. But
Mm,
I stopped going there because it just wasn't fun anymore.
yeah, and um, it's
Did you ever hang out in the Keys? Did you ever go to?
okay, no, I didn't. Because when I grew up, I got married young and had
Right.
kids, and then, like I said, I moved to Mooresville, and it was 150 was Tulane outside of Charlotte, near Mooresville.
Right. Uh-huh.
In 1988.
Right.
So I was born in Dunn, North Carolina, but moved to Florida when I was 9 months old. Karen, tell Tom thank you. All righty, see you later.
So that's North Carolina?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I used to live in the city of Charlotte, the Queen City.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And that was a nice little city in the 70s.
yeah.
And then, oh man, it's,
Like I say, everything's getting screwed up now.
well, we're letting it get screwed up.
I know.
Right. Bottom line.
Yeah.
My
When it
grandma,
starts getting screwed up, we run to somewhere that's not and
Right.
stay until it gets screwed
Right,
up,
I
and
mean,
then
that's-
run instead of fighting it.
right.
Yeah.
No, but it's more about the integrity of our heart. That's really, of all of the, Donald Trump, he's no worse than any of those other morons.
Yeah.
You know?
He just says what he thinks instead of
And,
doing it
and
without
that's
saying it.
which
Yeah.
is a great thing because he's like, actually, because we don't vote, we're given people. We don't vote
Yeah.
for them.
Well, and you can't. Well, I won't say a regular person, but he does have a lot of money. It's a shame it takes so
No,
much
he
money.
doesn't. I work for him.
Oh, really?
Oh, his daddy gave him all the money. He has zip.
Oh
He
my
has
God!
failed at everything he's ever done.
Don't tell him that.
And what's really amazing is he wants to be Andrew Jackson.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
Andrew Jackson was a psychopath.
Oh my.
But you know who he is? He is Abraham Lincoln. Because Abraham Lincoln failed at everything he did until he
Except
became,
being president.
and he didn't want to be president.
Yeah.
And
just
nobody
like
else
Trump
wanted to
did.
be.
Yeah.
So he was like, okay, we're going to make you president. We're going to throw you under the bus because in about 3 weeks, the Civil War is going to start. You'll have to deal with it.
Yeah.
And he was the
Oh
only
my
guy.
God! I love talking to you. You
who-
gotta come hang out with me when I get settled.
Okay,
in
when you
there.
get there.
Yeah.
And because I read everything.
Cool.
Because I used to be a shrink, and
Oh my God.
people hate shrinks. So to be able to talk to them, you have to have a hook. So instead of saying, "Oh, sit on my couch and I'll just take notes,"
Yeah.
I would say, "Oh, let me read your palm," or "Let's do your tarot cards,"
Yeah.
or "Let's do the I Ching," and then
Right.
I would kind of take it in the
Make them
direction,
feel comfortable. To
and,
start
and
with
then
them
start
so
talking
they
about
open
how
up.
they can. Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So that was my
Well,
little
it was nice
gig.
meeting you. And yeah,
Yep.
Greg told me about you, and that's so funny because the grant thing just came by email yesterday.
Well,
So I'll sign up for it. So I. will
so
at
go
least-
take that.
Yeah.
And the thing you need to do is, do you have one of these business card?
Oh, me myself. I
Bring-
do, but it's
Bring a
out.
pocket full of them.
Okay.
Go get them. So that's
Okay.
mine. And my right now we're doing what I do here is I do a
Wow, I need
YouTube
the
channel.
relaxation too.
Oh, I do that. I'm very good at that.
I
So
can't wait. It was nice meeting you. Thank you.
Have a seat.
Smile. Let me go eat with my husband.
I'll go
I
eat
don't
with your
see
husband.
him often,
Yeah,
but yeah.
so go look at my YouTube.
Okay.
They get a
yeah,
good
I will.
idea.
And I'm gonna because getting that I have cards, but I'm gonna help me try to think of a name. All I thought was like craft den of Dry Hill or something.
You have to look at.
Reality Inc.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's good.
That's the name of your
My
business.
business.
Reality Inc.
Yep, I
You might-
love it.
You might even put Sue Reality.
Yeah,
Sue like the girl's name,
right.
and then Reality Inc.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love it. Welcome.
Enjoy your Sammy.
Nice meeting you.
Yep,
Thank
yep, yep.
Oh, we don't have it.
Anyway, So that's what I do. Mm. And what we, so during the Vietnam War, like I worked at VA hospital. The main thing I worked on were guys who basketball stars one year, no legs the next, and hmm. And the only thing the government had for them was heroin. I mean, the war in Vietnam was about why we went into Cambodia was the opium fields. Let's go watch the movie. Um, that was the one with Gene Hackman, the Paris Connection, French Connection. Go see that. I'm going to keep talking about the hidden hand. It's not like it's not like the Illuminati. It's not like it's a transnational, transdimensional entity that has been playing with the human race since the beginning. Go watch. Guy who's best at talking about this, other than me, is David Icke. Now, if you've been watching my show, I lay down a stream of consciousness. Before I hit the button to go live, I go into state, I meditate, and I put that energy out into you, just like this lady's painting, right? Reality Inc., right? So, here's a girl out in the middle of nowhere, and she's making a painting like that. Did you hear her explain it? Somebody wanted her to figure out how to, have the perfect girlfriend, and so she was having a 3D printer make it. So, so drugs are here, just like in Brave New World. They had Soma. And that's why marijuana is being legalized. To basically, and that's why marijuana, unlike the marijuana I started out with, it is super duper genetically modified to be knock you out. I'm gonna knock you out. Okay. We've had 2 hours. It's 2 p.m. I'm gonna go back and do my chores. Oh. Mm. Probably won't do another one for a day. Maybe tomorrow, wherever I am and whatever I'm doing. So I came here because it's now the warmest it's going to get, so I might as well go do some chores. Okay? I'll see you guys later. I love you all. Got any questions? Remember, more thumbs up. Get more people to subscribe. Hit that bell. Go to my the dude awake 42 at Gmail. Go to my PayPal and send me some money. See you later, Banana. Rab, love you, guy. Love everyone. Alan, Hayden, everybody who's on. Stay well, be good. Love you guys. Wait till it's 2:12:12, which is in a few minutes. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm. When you're watching the pot, it goes slow. There it is, 12. 2, 12, 2, 3, 4,